for a long time, you've been saying to me, it's too early to know the effect of the tariffs. Well, now we've got some details on the tariffs. Your reaction?
Right. And I think the reason I was saying to you it's too early is because it really matters. It matters, which goods or where tariffs are applying, what countries, how long they apply for. So there's, when you look at the research that looks at the effects of tariffs on the U.S. economy, one of the things that's highlighted, it depends whether it's consumer goods, it depends on whether it's goods that lots of countries produce, and a lot of things like that. So, it really made sense to let's wait and see, find out more about what policies may be put in place, and then kind of, come to, I would say, conditional judgments about what does it mean for the U.S. economy. And as you said, we are seeing more actual actions on tariffs in different dimensions. I would still highlight there's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know how long the tariffs will apply. We don't know what other countries may do in response to this. We also don't know what else may happen in this, in the kind of realm of trade policy. My own view is that, based on experience from previous episodes, based on analysis, is that tariffs on consumer goods, especially, they do feed into import prices pretty strongly. That does filter in to prices that consumers pay. That happens relatively soon. Tariffs that feed into kind of intermediate inputs, the things that companies use to make other things and to make other things, those tend to pass through more gradually and have maybe last a little bit longer in terms of their effects. My view is that, based on what we know today, given all the uncertainties around that, I do factor in some effects of tariffs now on inflation, on prices, because I think we will see some of those effects later this year. Not yet, but maybe later this year. You have to factor in how does that affect economic activity, decisions by businesses to invest, consumers to spend. And that's where I think another big uncertainty is. We've seen some kind of movements in the data in the last couple of months. I think some of that's in anticipation of tariffs, so it's hard to really read the tea leaves there. But that's something else I'll be watching carefully, is to what extent is that affecting consumer confidence, business confidence, the uncertainty around this and the effects of the tariffs on economic growth and employment and things like that. So still a lot of uncertainty, I think directionally, somewhat higher prices in the outlook, at least in my kind of thinking about what's happening, but also a lot of uncertainty about how the economy responds to this.